Holy shit, these cards are going to change everything. What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. Now today I was going to be bringing you a completely separate video, but over at the World Championship they dropped a bombshell of a piece of news for competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Because holy shit, these cards are going to change everything. They spoiled the 3 brand new TCG exclusive cards that are going to be included in the Megatins that are going to be legal once the Megatins are released. And I'm not kidding when I say these cards are going to change everything. So we're just going to go ahead and get straight into it, going off one by one, discussing the cards, reading them off, and talking about what they do. So the first card is Nibiru, the Primal Being. It is a light level 10 or 11, 3, 6, 9, 11. So it's a light level 11 rock effect monster, 3000 attack, 600 defense. That doesn't sound really good. Well, wait until you hear this effect. During the main phase, if your opponent normal or special summoned 5 or more monsters this turn, as a quick effect, you contribute as many face-up monsters on the field as possible. And if you do, special summon this card from your hand. Then special summon 1 Primal Being token, which is a rock light level 11 attack and defensive question mark, to your opponent's field. This token's attack and defense become the combined original attack and defense of the tributed monsters. You can only use this effect of Nibiru the Primal Being once per turn. So, wow, okay, so this changes everything when it comes to combo decks, because when you're going up against a combo deck and you're going second now, think about how many times they special summon in a given turn. Well, what's crazy about this is that with Nibiru, essentially, if you can find a specific choke point in their deck after they've summoned 5 or more monsters, which, let's be honest, when you're going up against any sort of combo deck, they're going to be summoning like 30 to 40 times in a given turn. This card can absolutely wreck their deck strategy, because think about it in the context of something like, you know, Danger Thunder, Guard Dragon, Crusadia. If they have a board that just is comprised of like 2 or 3 monsters that they've already summoned a bunch in that turn, you can literally just like tribute them all off, summon Nibiru, give them the token, and then like, what are they gonna do? They probably don't have any other follow-up because they needed those cards to be able to extend into the rest of their combo, maybe for the Guard Dragons or just so many other different things that they're just going to be completely blown out by this card. So this is a huge hit to combo decks, just being able to have this card. Now, would you main deck this? I don't think you would main deck this, but this kind of is a little bit better. Well, I don't want to say it's better than Sphere Mode, because Sphere Mode is better on the draw, but Nibiru is better in your opening hand because you can disrupt them mid-combo, and it doesn't require your opponent to have exactly 3 monsters like, say, something like Sphere Mode does. Nibiru just requires them to have 5 or more summons done that turn, which means at any point you can disrupt their combo regardless of how many monsters they have on the field. And yeah, you may give them a monster with a significant stat line, but it has no effects and they're probably not going to be able to do anything with it. So not only that, you're also getting the Nibiru on your field, which is 3000 attack. And then you can follow that up when you're going second with the remaining 5 cards in your hand. You can use Nibiru as link material, doesn't have any restrictions on that. You can do whatever the hell you want with this card. Wow, this card is absolutely crazy, and you're gonna be seeing this card everywhere as long as combo decks exist in the format. That card is wild. All right, moving on to the second card, we have Dark Ruler No More. So this is a normal spell card. Brace yourselves for this one. Negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls until the end of this turn. Also, for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, your opponent takes no damage. Neither player can activate monster effects in response to this card's activation. Well, we already know how powerful that clause is with a card like Super Polymerization being so prevalent in our format. Now, there's one distinct difference here because neither player can activate monster effects. So spell and trap effects can still be used in response. This can be negated by like a Solemn Judgment or anything like that. So against decks that play, you know, spell or trap cards that can potentially be a form of disruption, this card won't be able to, it will still have some level of interaction for decks like that. However, again, this is going at the combo decks because if you're looking at it in the context of the combo decks that play, you know, 30 to 35 monsters in their deck, or like even these Sekka's Light decks, all the cards on their field are pretty much in the form of monster disruptions. And since Dark Ruler No More says, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls, and neither player can activate monster effects in response, again, let's talk about in the context of like the Danger Thunder Crusadia board. Your opponent is going to have like a Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, they're going to have a Hieratic Spheres, and they're also going to have like Colossus. Well, you're going to negate everything. They can't use monster effects in response. That means you're no longer under Colossus, you're not going to get negated by Hot Red, and they can't tribute off Spheres to be able to go ahead and negate that ability because it activates on the field. So you're pretty much free to do whatever the hell you want with this card, and they have no way to interact with it because they don't play Spell and Trap Interruption. Now, again, let's look at another deck, Pendulum Magician. Pendulum Magician's the same way. It does play a lot of spells, but it doesn't really play spells that are interacting on the opponent's turn so much. They are assembling boards of like Vortex Dragon and, you know, like F8 Dawn Dragster and all these other different things. This card's gonna negate all of them, and they can't use monster effects in response to stop a card like this. Now, it does have like the Card of Demise type clause where your opponent takes no damage, but it doesn't matter because if you regain control of the board, you're probably going to be winning that game anyway, and this gives you a good tool to use against the combo decks to actually be able to stop them. Now, it does have the weakness that if your opponent is playing like a Spell or Trap Interruption, like let's say something like Orcust. Orcust does play like Orcust Crescendo. Crescendo could be used in response to Dark Ruler No More, and that way you're not going to be able to have any interaction there. However, if you're able to like bait that out, then you can negate everything on field, like the Bomber Dragon, you know, anything like that. It only negates the face-up effects of monsters that they currently control. So if they do, you know, do some sort of like weird like chain link, maybe they might be able to like work around that. I'm not really too sure, but for the combo decks, this is a huge blowout card. And again, as long as combo decks exist in this format or any format for the future, this card is going to see play. This card is incredible. And last but not least, we have Dimension Shifter. Now, Dimension Shifter is a dark level 6 spellcaster effect monster, 1200 attack, 2200 defense. Again, not an impressive stat line, but just wait until you hear this effect. If you have no cards in your graveyard, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard until the end of the next turn. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the hand trap equivalent of Macrocosmos, Different Dimension Ground, basically one turn, banish anything, but you can use it if you're going second. This is ridiculous. Imagine if you're going up against a deck like Orcust going second and you have Dimension Shifter in your hand. You can just drop this, everything they dump to the graveyard is going to get banished, which means they're not going to have any way to use any of the Orcust monsters' effects. It's just going to be madness. And look at a deck like Salamangreat. Salamangreat relies so much on graveyard recursion because being able to drop this, they can't use Spinny, they can't use Jack Jaguar, like everything's going to get banished. It's going to completely cripple any strategy that relies on using the graveyard as a resource. Even against a deck like Sky Striker, this card is really not that bad because any card sent to the graveyard would be banished, which means they can't recur any of their spells with something like Kagari or Multi-Roll. Everything's going to be banished, so their spell count will not increase, meaning they're not going to be able to plus off of stuff like Engage. It just, being able to use a Macrocosmos-like effect going second is something that I've been saying that this game needs for quite some time. And now the fact that we have it, it's crazy. Now, the thing is, Dimension Shifter is pretty bad on the draw because if you have your opening 5-card hand and then you draw into Dimension Shifter, it's a little bit awkward because it doesn't really do anything for you. However, you could use it and then that way be as like the first thing in your turn, and then if they have cards that rely on the graveyard, they would get banished. So like for instance, against like, let's say, I don't know, like against Salamangreat or like Orcust, if you're kind of breaking apart their board, the cards would get banished, but yours would as well. So it depends on if your deck relies on the graveyard too. There's a lot of really interesting interactions that this card inhibits, not to mention it is also dark, so it has a very nice attribute. So that means you're gonna have like synergy with, I don't know, like Allure of Darkness, Chaos monsters are gonna have the synergy. Even the other monster, the one that tributes for if they summon 5 times, that's a light. So again, having that sort of chaos synergy is pretty nice, just because if these were like not a good attribute, if they were like wind or something, like it wouldn't be nearly as appealing. So the fact that they even have good attributes and even typing, I mean, Dimension Shifter's a spellcaster, that's like kind of relevant, I guess. It's not like the best type, but it's not the worst either. I don't know. I definitely think that out of all 3 of these cards, they're all going to see play. These are all highly viable competitive options. And the one thing though that I don't like is that you only get 1 of these per Megatin instead of getting like all 3 of them. So at the very least, you'd have to buy 3 Megatins if you wanted to get all 3, even though you could just buy them on the secondary market. But you know what I mean? Like, it would be cool if like every Megatin had all 3 of these, but there's going to be such high demand for these cards because they are going to be competitive staples in every single player's binder for at some point. And I definitely think this is a really good thing. This is an incredible direction that we're seeing with product development. It might be like a little late, but frankly, this is a perfect opportunity to introduce cards like this into the game. I want to see more cards like this, not just being introduced in Megatins, but start introducing cards like this in your core product. We have how many, what, 12 TCG exclusive slots in every single set now? Start putting cards like this in your core sets, because that's going to drive people to want to buy them, because cards like this are insane. Make them secret rare, who cares? These are incredible tools, and I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! Needs to start seeing a lot more powerful generic cards like this. So guys, those are just my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about these cards. I think they're insane, but I really love to hear your thoughts and what other combinations you figured out to use these cards the most effectively. Thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Content, and if you found this video informative, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member, because just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.